Hey, welcome to weekday coronavirus-driven mind stuff. My name is George Ortega, and it is Thursday, July 2nd, 2020 at 2:06 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And this is episode number 60. And so yeah, the last couple of episodes, I've been talking about how evil everyone is. In the first episode, I kind of was blaming people, not in substance, but in attitude. I was saying, you're evil. That's why this is happening to you. I was a little upset. And then I felt guilty about that. So I did yesterday's show where I kind of presented a more sober, just compassionate, I guess, explanation of what I meant. I explained it, I think, well enough a couple of days ago also, but still, without the condemnation, which is all about this free will stuff. Let me explain to you more, though, why you don't understand how evil you are. And it goes back to this concept of denial that I've been talking about in psychology. Denial is when we receive information that contradicts, for example, the image we have of ourselves, or need to have, or the image of the world we need to have. For example, climate change. A lot of people are in denial of climate change because they consider it so horrible, so catastrophic, and it is, what can I tell you, but that they can't believe that God would do this to us, because they believe in God, so they deny. They say, well, I'm sorry, my God is good. My God would never do this to us, so the science must be wrong. All right, now, with those people, I guess maybe they may be having second doubts, second thoughts about that assessment, considering this COVID-19. And if they consider so that's one example of denial. So that's collectively based on, our religious beliefs, our belief even about the world, for people who are let's say, not religious, who are atheist, but believe, no, the world isn't that harsh, whatever. So they can't believe it. A personal example is, let's say, you're a parent, right? And you get called into your school, and you're talking to your school psychologist, and they're explaining to you, your kid has serious emotional problems, serious problems with whatever, and that need psychiatric intervention, medication, whatever. And let's say you were brought up in a family where you guys are the winners, you guys are the leaders, stuff like that doesn't happen to you. You're the epitome of health and vitality and morality and success. You come from a long line of doctors, lawyers, successful business people. So you say, no, this couldn't be happening, I know my kid, maybe he's a little strange, whatever, but he doesn't have, let's say, a major psychotic disorder or something like that, That's a form of denial. And assuming right now, we're assuming that the school is correct in this, they assess, and a lot of these illnesses, for example, it's not really the person's fault, the parent's fault. A lot of these things are genetic. You can't blame the parent for having bad genes. But anyway, that's another example of denial. So all right, so we're in denial that that we're being no, sorry, that you, I'm not going to implicate, because I mean, I'm not perfect, right? But I'm a lot more perfect than stuff like this than you guys. I mean, I've been a vegan for over 15 years. You and your family, your friends, people who are good in a lot of ways. You know, this isn't like an either or. You know, you can be good in some ways and really, really bad in other ways. And that's, you know, and I'm not like, you know, doing this to try to harm you in any way. The exact opposite. You know, I'm taking a bit of a chance, you know, telling you how evil you are, so you will change, so you will, like, you know, become better, and so God, you know, can lift this punishment. So again, like, you know, I've gone over this before, but, you know, I don't think I can go over it enough, considering considering the mess we're in for the next years to come, and whoever, you know, however long this you know goes on. You know, I can't talk about this enough. I'm sorry. I was thinking, like, earlier today, of changing the title of the show to COVID-19 and Why You're All So Evil. You know, I really was, and I may. I just have to call up the manager of the station. I really should, because maybe it'll focus me. But then, you know, like, I think after like 3-4 weeks of talking about why you're so evil, I think, you know, that'd be difficult for me. Anyway, it's like, here's the thing. So, all right, you're really evil because you buy and eat, not so much because you eat, but you buy, which that's your complicity in this evil. You know, you're not performing the evil, you're paying people to perform the evil for you. Let's say, like, you know, you paid someone to kill someone else. That doesn't get you off the hook. You know, you're aiding and abetting a crime, you know? So, so what you're doing is you're paying people to unimaginably abuse, torture, you know. I was saying 60 billion animals each year. Now, I just recently I read an internet article that now they estimate it's between 70 and 100 land animals a year, billion, you know, land animals a year. And this doesn't even include the fish that are, like, you know, in these fish farms. They're cramped into these pools, you know, where they're kept in a state of constant shock. And imagine your whole life, let's say, walking around Grand Central Station, that everywhere you walk, it's that busy, you know, Grand Central Station at rush hour. That's how the fish are treated. But anyway, and the fish are treated, you know, much better than you know, the cows and pigs and chickens and you know, for foie gras, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that, you know, they force feed these geese, you know, and like with lamb, you know, like they will keep lambs in the dark and not give them any solid food, you know, and not allow them to walk around, you know, because that's, like, you know, if you want tender, juicy lamb, that's what it takes, you know. And so anyway, so this is why you're so evil. And why don't you get this? Why don't you get this? Because, you know, you need to believe that you and your friends and your family are good people. In a lot of ways you are. You know, you work hard, you know, to raise your family. You work hard in school or whatever you do. Again, this isn't a binary thing that you're either or. You know, you do a lot of good, but in this one area, because of denial, you're causing so much evil that God is punishing us in a way that's surreal, unbelievable, unimaginable. So why is this issue of denial so important? Think about it. Let's say you weren't in denial. Let's say you didn't believe in free will, because the reason you're in denial, you know, whether this is like a direct understanding for you, or whether it's an implicit understanding that's behind, below the surface, that you just kind of like assume but never really question, never really think about. See, your belief in free will is causing you to be in denial of the evil you're doing toward these animals. Because let's say you were to, because it's an indictment. No, you believe in free will. You believe what you do, everything you think, feel, say, do, is up to you fundamentally. That you're, the buck that stops there. That like the reality is like no. Why are you so evil? Because you're raised in an evil culture. You were raised from day one. Drinking cow's milk. From cows that have been really tortured. Abused, kept in stalls, for all their life, pretty much, or a long time. You're steeped in this culture. You're raised this way. That is why you're so. It's not your fault. Okay, you don't have a free will. That's just one instance of why you don't have a free will. Across the board, there's so many. I've written books on this. I've television series, meetup groups. I've spent the last 10 years trying to get people to understand. No, you don't have a free will, and it's important you know this, because the more you know this, the better a person you can become. And so, all right, so let's tie this together. So you believe in free will, and because you believe that everything you do is fundamentally up to you, and everything your friends and family and everybody is fundamentally up to them, that means that this evil, what you're doing to the animals, is fundamentally your fault. Okay, now I'm absolving you. I'm saying, no, it is not your fault. You're doing evil, yes, and you're paying the price. We're all paying the price. Maybe me less than you, because I'm not doing that evil. But you're paying the price. And now let's say by some miracle, some godly miracle, God comes down from the heavens, tonight, and in a loud booming voice says to us, listen, you stupid people, which is my fault. You're so stupid because I made you. You don't have a free will, all right? I'm omnipotent, I'm all powerful. I created this thing, I created you. I govern everything, and you don't have a free will. Okay, let's say, so like you wake up tomorrow, holy cow, I don't have a free will. Nobody has a free will. How interesting is that? We're kind of like manifesting God's will. We're puppets, robots, whatever. Now, I like to frame it in a positive way. We're manifesting God's will, which is true. So that kind of tells you that God, has like some problems, whatever. I mean, as if you didn't know that, like if you were God, right? You had a choice. Well, I'm going to create a world with pain or without pain. I think you'd probably create a world without pain, but I can't judge God, because, God is everything. God is vast, and he's a lot more intelligent than I am. So maybe there's a good reason why there's pain, but I don't see it. But anyway, so like God, gives you this epiphany, gives us all this epiphany. All of a sudden, like tomorrow, the scientists are telling you, listen, now it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself. Don't feel guilty, because it's not your fault. But, the reason we're going through this, and the reason we're not going to be free from future pandemics, which will happen unless we change, the reason we're going through this is because we're eating meat and dairy and eggs from animals that are raised in such unsterile, unsanitary, dismally virus and disease creating environments, that this is what happens, that basically like this COVID-19, yes, it happened in China, in a wet market, but it could easily have happened here in the United States, and it does happen in the United States. We've been lucky here, but apparently we're not so lucky. In other words, like, it doesn't matter whether we're lucky here. This is a world where like because there's so much air travel, so much travel between continents for business that nobody's going to like stop anytime soon because, you know, we like our economy. Because of that, and travel, you know, for leisure and all, because of that, you know, it doesn't matter where it comes from. If we're farming anywhere, you know, farming animals, we are going to be at risk of more and more pandemics. And, you know, for all we know, this, we could have lucked out with this. It could be much worse. Others in the past have been much worse. Spanish flu, 1918, 50 million people, I believe, were killed. I may be wrong. I think about it. Anyway, so what happens is, like, you know, the scientists are telling you, listen, you know, what you're doing, buying these products, you know, sponsoring this industry, abetting this cruelty is why we're all distanced, why our economy is shut down, why our future is surreally, you know, I tend to be an optimist. I think good will come from this, but, like, you know, not before a lot of pain and suffering. So, like, so they're telling you this, and again, they're reminding you, don't blame yourself. So now you don't have to go into denial. You know, now you're saying, oh my God, all right, you still might, you know, be in denial because you have a view of God that, well, God, you know, like, I'm sorry, God wouldn't do this. You know, fine, it's not my fault. But I mean, what wouldn't God do, actually? I mean, like, God, you know, the COVID-19 is here, the factory farming is here. So, like, you know, I guess no, that wouldn't work. You know, you can't say God is so, you know, God being so bad, whatever. You know, you can't be in denial of that, whatever. So, anyways, like, so and you, let's say you do blame God. You know, it's in God's hands, whatever. So. But, like, the fact that you're not blaming yourself fundamentally, the fact that you understand that the way you are is because the way you were raised, because of the way this country and this world is, you know, because of factors that are in no way up to you, you know, and your friends and family, then you can look at what you're doing objectively and say, oh my God, we have been horrible. We have been beyond horrible. You know, those of us who have cats and dogs, you know, should understand this a lot better. They know the pain that cats and dogs can go through, you know, that we have laws protecting cats and dogs and animals, you know, the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, you know, severe laws. So you finally get this. You don't have to go into denial because you're not blaming yourself. You know, the scientists, the experts aren't blaming you. The clerics wouldn't be blaming you because they're a major, you know, part of the problem. You know, they refuse to evolve beyond this belief in free will, you know, because they're afraid of their congregations. You know, they're afraid they'll be booted out. Sorry, you know, we're going to look for another leader who believes in free will. So anyways, like, so you get this. You know, you finally get it, and that's how we change. You know, you face the reality objectively without having to deny it. And interestingly, this is the same situation with climate change. You know, one reason a lot of people deny climate change, again, you know, to reiterate, is because they can't believe that God would do this, that we, you know, because this climate change really hasn't happened in the minds of a lot of people. You know, this, you know, every, like, year for the last 20 years has been, like, among the top 20 hottest years on record. And they just, oh no, it's a cyclical thing. It's just a cycle, natural cycle. Don't worry, it's the sunspots. Okay, it's just, you know, it's a solar wind. You know, forget it. So, like, you know, they can't believe that we, through our, you know, fossil fuels and all this stuff, can you know, can do something so horrible, because this is, like, beyond horrible. This is like COVID-19 on steroids. This is like, you know, COVID-19 that doesn't go away, that gets worse and worse decade by decade. And so we deny it, you know, and so, like, let's pull this into what's happening with young people. Young people in their 20s and 30s, they're going out, they're partying, Why? because they get it. They you know, I'm 62. I didn't learn about climate change back in school, but they know all about it. And they know that it's our fault. They know that it's their parents' fault and their grandparents' fault. They know that nobody cares. They know they're screwed. They know they have no future as long as people like me and people who are older are in power and alive and all. So I imagine a lot of them, you know, hey, you know, you've messed up my future. You know, my grandchildren won't have a future. You know, because well, I probably won't have grandchildren because of like your greed and selfishness and you know, just not doing anything about climate change. So they probably say to themselves, well, screw you. You know, we're gonna like, you know, we're gonna get infected. And if we infect a lot of you older people and you die, well, you know, you should have, you know, thought about that before you screwed up the planet with climate change. I mean, that's probably what's on their mind, that they're not gonna like, you know, say, you know. But anyway, but don't you see how it's so important to understand that you don't have a free will? Because like, again, I'm not sure I could do this show, this kind of episode, without this very important caveat that you don't have a free will. In other words, like, if I wasn't saying that to just tell you over and over how evil you are, you know, that I mean, like, people have done that. Jonathan Edwards, this famous preacher, you know, he used to rail at people, and he's not the only one. You know, like, prophets have done this in the Bible and stuff. You know, change your ways or else. But I don't have that particular personality, you know, perhaps because I understand that you don't have a free will. So if I'm telling you that you're really evil and telling you it's your fault, well, no, that confuses it. So anyway, but that's what, you know, this issue of free will is constantly important because it's the foundation of your denial of reality, of how evil you are. And you know, it is important that you stop being so evil. It's important that we shift from factory farming, which is, you know, and all farming really, you know, there's some farming that isn't factory farm, but it still presents a substantial risk of pandemics. We need to shift completely from that system of our meat production to a virtually completely safe mechanism that God introduced us to in 2013. This is brand new. Most people don't know about it. Cellular agriculture, lab-grown meat, clean meat, cultured meat, you know, has various names. The idea where you can like take a single cell from an animal in a way that doesn't hurt the animal at all. You know, you can take it from a feather of a chicken, for example, and grow these cells in a medium, in a lab that's sterile, that makes it virtually impossible for it to spread into a pandemic, you know, for these viruses to develop. And we can grow as much beef and chicken and pork and milk and eggs and foie gras and you know, meat as we want. And that's you know, that's the value. That's what we need to do. That's, you know, the evils factory farming, the redemption, the repentance, the reform is transitioning to this. Now, like, here's the thing. So like, it's a brand new industry. You know, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. There's only about 40 or 50 startups in it. The most substantially funded just got a grant for 160 million about for research, but most of them are lucky if they get 5 billion, you know. And so there are substantial research challenges that they need to meet before you can see these products on supermarket shelves at competitive prices. Because, like, you know, right now they can sell you like a hamburger for like $150 or something, or it's probably lower than that now. But it's not, you know, they haven't, you know, taken care of the research challenges to get the price point to where it's marketable. So, so like, again, at the rate of investment in that industry, which is, it's not open to investors yet, I don't think, or very few companies are, it may take 10 years or longer, but we may not have 10 years or longer. In other words, like this pandemic, there's actually a pandemic, an influenza, another influenza outbreak in China that just developed that may turn into a pandemic. They don't know yet. And there was one, we had to kill 30,000 chickens in a farm in South Carolina some time ago, several months ago, because of bird flu, you know, which could spread into a pandemic. It's all about how they mutate, how these viruses mutate and all. So, and we can't control that. So anyway, running out of time. So I hope you understand that it's not your fault, you know, but you are being so evil that if you believe in God, you probably would make the assessment, well, God's actually being merciful. I mean, God, you know, compared to what we're doing to those animals, we deserve so much more. You know, in other words, like if we were like, you know, according to our laws about how we treat cats and dogs, if we were applying those same laws to you know, these farm animals, you know, we'd give ourselves, you know, 10-year prison sentences. You know, it's really that horrible. I mean, longer maybe, I don't know. So it's important you understand this. It's important that you understand you don't have a free will, so it's not your fault, and it's important you understand this so you move out of denial, face objective reality, understand what we're doing, and maybe at that point your brain will start working again because you know it's on vacation. I mean, it's been on vacation pretty much your whole life if you don't get this. Sorry, but you know. Then you could see objectively, you know, like you can talk to your politicians, to your friends, you know, we can, you know, again, like within 4 or 5 years, we could have this kind of like new meat in supermarkets and again, be pandemic free, and God will forgive us because we're no longer torturing animals. And maybe even, you know, at that point, tackle climate change. So our kids have a reason not to hate us. I mean, they wouldn't hate us because they would get that we don't have a free will, but you know, anyway, all right, I'm running out of time. Monday through Friday, I guess I'll be on again next week because this is like, you know, for tomorrow, Friday's show. And catch us on White Plains Community Media, channel 76 if you get Optimum, 45 if you get Verizon. And I've uploaded all the shows to YouTube already, so you can catch them there. And, you know, I you know, do this every week or 2 or 3, sometimes depending on my schedule. So, all right, running out, 30 seconds left. Hope you're having a nice Friday. Hope you have a nice weekend. Again, you don't have a free will. And because you don't have a free will, this is not your fault, but you're still being very evil. And the way our world works is even though you don't have a free will, you still get rewarded and punished according to what you do. And what you're doing is so horrible that it's causing this COVID-19. And as soon as you get this, as soon as enough of us get this, we can move beyond this and create a better world. Okay, thanks for listening. And I will be back on Monday, hopefully.